All right, guys, so I just gessoed some canvas. This was actually a gift that my sister got me for Christmas that's been sitting here that I've been wanting to paint for some time. So yeah, we'll let the gesso dry and then we'll go ahead. I was thinking what would be cool is Say Anything is a Real Boy would be a really cool use of this long canvas. So on to the next thing. All right, so I've been using this picture as my reference, and I pretty much have just done like a rough transfer of just like the silhouette shapes here, which I'm then going to proceed to fill in and decide if I want to do it black and white or in color. Probably color, but we'll see. So I'm gonna get on that. Okay, so now I gotta find a way to record this better. I'm just mixing up some green paint in a very lazy, unprofessional way. Trying to match the green of their font on the album cover. So I'm gonna mix that up, sit down and fill in my lettering. Okay, so I'm starting off with their pretty well-known font here, which I just discovered while researching. It's called Caslon number 337, italic. I always thought it was a pretty cool font, so just a fun fact. I got a lot of inspiration from for this painting from the actual album art, which was illustrated by Peter Bemis, and the design was by Ryan Johnson. So, as you may or may not know, Say Anything was formed in the year 2000 by Max Bemis, Kobe Linder, Jake Turner, Jeff Turner, and Parker Case. You may or may not know that, but their name was chosen based off of the 1989 movie, which I guess Max was a big fan of at the time. I can almost see him a bit in the main character, so it's kind of funny. Interesting enough, Say Anything used to be written as a one word and a space was later added, and that's something I didn't know until researching. Well, coincidentally, we actually were at a comic store looking at records, and Luke picked up one of the few Say Anything albums there, and it was Baseball, which I had never listened to that album before, and on that album their name is still one word. And apparently it's only one of 300 printed copies, so I feel like we got lucky there. Just kind of a random gift from the universe. There are some pretty awesome songs on there that I hadn't even heard before, other than Colorblind, which is the first track. According to the Say Anything wiki page, Bemis struggled with different ideas for the Is a Real Boy record and eventually decided the album should focus on, quote, the artistic struggle, the fact that every creative person has this sick ambition to effect some sort of change in society with their art, to be more than just a guy in a band or a poet or a sculptor, unquote. I personally bought the Is a Real Boy on CD when I was about 13 or so, and I was really blown away by the authenticity and also the humor of their music. I have plenty of memories of Alive with the Glory of Love playing on the radio all the time as a young teenager, and it quickly became one of my favorite songs. The lyrics and the style of music were unlike anything I'd really heard before up until that point in my life, and they're still so close to my heart today. At the same time, Wow, I Can Get Sexual Too was also a huge hit. That would occasionally make its appearance on the radio. And I have a lot of fond memories of me and my friends being silly and dancing around like cringy teenagers do to that song. Good times. Among other things I personally recall from that album was Spider Song, which is one of my favorites. Speaking of friends, one of my friend's older sisters helped cement that song into my mind. She was like the really cool, rebellious artist type, and everyone kind of looked up to her. I remember she always had like neon colored hair, like cut into a pixie cut, and she always had like these super crazy paintings that she had done all over her walls, like all the way up into the ceiling, all this crazy cool stuff. I remember one day we were climbing up the stairs because she had an above garage apartment, and she was just blasting Spider Song, and it was just getting louder and louder the closer I got to her door. And we'd go up there and, you know, she'd bum us cigarettes in secret. And I remember sitting on her floor and she dumped out like a huge jar of all these random collected bottle caps, like a huge jar of it, all in front of my lap. And she told me to take the ones I liked the best because she used to make like belts and jewelry and all this cool stuff. And I knew that if she liked to say anything, then they were definitely like the coolest of the cool in my eyes, and they still are. But yeah, so this album carried me through so much of my youth, alongside of the later release In Defense of the Genre, which is cool because that features, I believe it's like 23 different artists. Gerard Way is on there, Hayley Williams, ton of artists. And I grew to not only appreciate like the wittiness, but a lot of the despair that was captured in their music. I felt that as I grew through my own personal struggles, you know, which I've had a lot, who hasn't. But I could always go back to this album and resonate with what it had to say. It can really make me smile because some lines are so sarcastic, but it also helps me feel like less alone when I'm anxious, which I know that's something that Bemis personally struggles with, and he's been pretty outspoken about mental health and bipolar disorder. I personally don't have that, but I think it's pretty awesome that he has vocalized the experience of that and trying to be supportive for other people who may be experiencing, you know, mental health struggles. So anyway, that's kind of my perspective, and I guess I'd hand it over to Luke, who has kind of he discovered Say Anything a bit later in life, so I'm interested in, you know, different perspectives. That's just my memories. So anyhow,
for me, being shown this album long after the wave of early 2000s emo, I gotta say I fell into it pretty hard. Not knowing much about the band other than perhaps seeing the video for Wow, I Can Get Sexual Too. During the early days of MTV, my exposure was practically non-existent. Knowing that, Sarah would send me both the intro track Belt, and having been raised in Louisiana, it seemed fitting she would later send me The Writhing South. Coming from a background writing pop punk, I immediately loved the fast, distorted guitars, mix of loud to soft vocals, and of course Max's lyrical styling. For me, these two songs were the hook I needed to really draw me into the album and, quite honestly, the rest of the band. I pretty much listened to the album in its entirety nearly every day for about 6 months straight, you know, just until I knew all the words by heart. I'm the kind of person who will obsess over a band and an album and dissect it from Easter eggs to how the album was recorded and basically everything in between. This would lead me down the rabbit hole to learn that the album was recorded entirely without guitar amps and only using a Line 6 pod to capture most of, if not all of the guitars for the album. I've heard Max say in different interviews that he regrets this decision, but to me, it really adds to the experience and sound of the album as a whole, making each track consistent in quality and experience. It's one of those decisions that makes something your own and unlike what a lot of other bands were doing at the time. I could really go on about this and other trivia I've learned, but we'll save that for another video. For now, I'll give the mic back to Sarah, and we'll get on with the rest of the video.
I don't have a whole lot else to add to that. I guess I'll just talk about the painting. So with this painting in particular, I wasn't quite sure exactly what type of style I wanted to use to paint the band, but I decided after some debate that I'd use cell shading, which is like that black outline most people are probably familiar with because of like cartoons and comics. Just as a clarification, it's used to like animate beings or objects to allow them to move in an inanimate world. So I kind of felt like that style kind of spoke to the Is a Real Boy theme, and I wasn't sure if painting their actual faces would do the painting justice or take away from the message. For some reason, I kind of liked it without the facial expressions, so Not sure what you guys think. I still haven't quite finished the painting, and it definitely needs some touching up for sure, but I decided to sit with it for now until I gather a little bit more energy. I spent about 8 hours recording film to get through this, so I did my best with the time I had, but I just wanted to wrap up this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and yeah, I'll be thinking of what I'm going to paint next. Thanks for listening, everybody. If you have a chance to hit like and subscribe, you'd be much obliged. Thanks. Take care till the next time.